Hi, Rowan Musa here, and in my last video I discussed the reasons why you need a consistent sales engagement meeting framework and how it benefits your business. In this video I'm going to break down the sales meeting framework using our own 7-step sales model so you can confidently engage those prospective clients. Prior to the meeting, I would have expected you've done some research into this prospective client's business to gain background and some key information about them. So before you begin any sales meetings, you should spend some time reviewing so you can walk into the meeting room confident on a successful outcome. This also means having your meeting room prepared, questions, scripts to the ready, and centering yourself so you're in a calm, emotive state. This brings us to our first step, building rapport. Building rapport is something that is generally taken for granted and hugely important for reducing buyer's resistance, which is fundamental if you want to establish an open corridor for building trust. You don't want to come across as that high-pressured salesperson that we all despise. So here are a few tips in building rapport. Understand how they are feeling. Are they anxious, excited, or apprehensive? Acknowledge their feelings and put them at ease if they are anxious. Find areas to connect in opening conversations. Now, for example, ask about their weekend. Did they do anything interesting? You can share your experiences and look for common connections. Always maintain good eye contact, open body language, and smile. Setting an agenda is step number 2. An important part of running any successful meeting is setting an agenda, as it establishes the roadmap and sets clear expectations for the meeting. The agenda really sets the tone of the meeting and is critical that you take control of this process so they feel that they're in the hands of an expert. You want to come across as friendly, confident, and authoritative as an expert in your field. Setting a clear agenda means asking questions on what the prospect really wants to get out of the meeting so you can keep it on track and uncover what their true motivations are. Step 3 is positioning the sale. Like any new relationship, we need to establish credibility with our prospect so we can reduce buyer's resistance and increase buyer's acceptance. This usually involves telling the prospect a little about your business and who you are to build comfort. This is usually referred to in sales as the elevator pitch. And to do this effectively, you must first understand if you are pre-sold or not pre-sold in the prospect's mind. If the prospect has been referred to you by an existing client, then they know a little bit about your business, then they tend to be more pre-sold. If the prospect knows nothing about your business, then they're not pre-sold, and therefore you need to give them a little more detail with the main focus on letting them know your point of differentiation. In step 4, you need to diagnose their problems and identify the various needs your prospect has and requires addressing. This step is really vital in continuing to build upon the rapport that you've already established. There are 2 main phases here that we transition the prospect through. There is understanding the facts and feelings around their current situation, and secondly, their desired situation or what their goal is. Ask questions and probe further into their problems and learn more about what they're struggling with, leading to deepening of your rapport. Again, some key tips here are talk as little as possible and just listen. Ask open-ended questions. Transition conversations from thinking-based to more emotive-based, and don't solve problems, just listen and take notes. Now it's your turn to demonstrate that you are the expert in solving their problems, which is step 5, remedy. This is where you demonstrate your point of differentiation and your value proposition. This step varies from person to person, so you really need to think on your feet and take them on a journey that engages their thinking and feeling. You want to keep this as conceptual as possible and not diving into solving all the client's problems. You want to sell the concept of being a client and giving them enough information to allow them to see that you know your stuff, but not enough to solve their issues at this step. This comes once they've engaged you. Once you've demonstrated some value, it's time to walk them through your products and services and to get them closer to their desired outcome and move into step 6, which is the offer. This step is where you want to clarify the financial cost, engagement process, and get a read on the buyer's acceptance. In other words, have you built enough trust and comfort that you have moved them from buyer's resistance to buyer's acceptance? This means the prospect is no longer skeptical. Confidently walk them through your pricing, onboarding process, and payment terms. And finally, step 7 is the commitment stage, or what is often referred to in sales as the close. This is where you ask for the sale, Many people think this is where the sale is won or lost, but that's not the case. The sale was made or lost much earlier in the process, but it's really the place where people officially ask for the business. This is where we establish next steps and actions in moving forward. Now, this can be sending a proposal, signing an engagement document, or establishing a further meeting if required. Now, if you want to work with me on your sales engagement process, then go over to my website at businesscutthrough.com.au and reach out.